Hello, welcome back to the Prestige TV podcast feed. I'm Joanna Robinson.
I'm Rob Mahoney.
We're here to talk to you about The Pitt. We're almost done with the season of The Pitt. Rob.
What am I supposed to do with myself?
I know, heavy sigh. We've been on this beat for months. This is our longest term relationship with any show is The Pitt. So,
and a meaningful one. I'm not ready to say goodbye. It looks like we're gearing up for an incredibly depressing finale, potentially, or at least an emotional one. I'm not ready to unpack all that yet. I'm going to hold on tightly to The Pitt as long as I possibly can.
It is episode 14. It's 8 p.m. Monica and Donnie have clocked out.
They have.
Some guy got Iwo Jima'd in a bar.
Did you know that was a verb?
Love to learn it. And Robby gave Dr. Langdon a compliment.
He sure did. Just in time for Langdon to go take a drug test so he can barely receive any of it.
I loved it. Okay, so listen, Prestige TV at Spotify.com if you want to reach us, or drsidebangs@gmail.com if you want to reach us. A lot going on in the feed these next couple weeks. We are wrapping up The Pitt. Euphoria is kicking off, so you can join us Sunday nights for Euphoria coverage. Also, next week, Beef Season 2 is dropping on Netflix, and we will be doing a couple episodes on that. So there's a lot going on in the feed. We hope you'll join us for all of it. I really hope you guys join. I mean, I know a ton of you are watching The Pitt and listening to us talk about The Pitt. That's great. I think you should hang with us for Euphoria. Even if you think Euphoria isn't your thing, like even if you, what do you make of this, Rob? Do you think someone could jump into season 3 of Euphoria not having watched the first 2 seasons?
I think they probably could, but should you?
No, I think you shouldn't. If that's a barrier of entry for you, I think it's enough of a soft reboot that you could figure out how to join us for Euphoria. If not, for
completely
Beef
agree.
Or something.
And
like
Beef will be a hard new show right out of the gate. So don't even worry about it.
In terms of mailbag, I don't have a ton of mailbag to get to this week, but we did get a bunch of responses from people for our coverage of last week, where when Robby sort of gives this revelation to Dana about his mother, a lot of people were sort of curious why we didn't dig into that more. And I want to talk about it here at the top, but I will just say in sort of like a blanket way, I think because we learned in season 1 that he was raised by his grandmother, I wasn't terribly surprised by this revelation. But being specifically abandoned by his mother could shed new light on the Baby Jane Doe situation, his sneering at Samira about her mommy issues, all this sort of stuff. I did want to read this, a bit of an interview that Noah Wyle gave to Megan O'Keefe at Decider at the end of season 1, just about sort of how they think about the personal lives of these characters and how they want to sort of roll that information out, right? So in response to her asking about the Robby raised by his grandmother info that we learned in season 1, Noah Wyle said, "I love that this is a clue path that engages people because I think it's interesting. And I think the less detail you give sometimes, the more you engage that clue path." So when we started writing the show, it was like, okay, where do we begin? Does Robby wake up in his house, apartment, townhouse? Is he flopping on a friend's couch? If he's got an apartment, what's on the wall? Is he alone? Does he have a dog? Does he take a shot of whiskey? Does he drink orange juice? Every choice defines and limits at the same time. And suddenly your every man becomes that man, depending on how the art director has decorated the apartment set. And I didn't want anybody to know this man except in a professional capacity until it became impossible for him to keep up his professional mask anymore. And then you get to know about his personal life. That was a sort of rule for everybody. The less we know about them personally, the more professional, the better. And then we'll learn a nugget or two, and that nugget will be defining in that moment, but it'll be specific to that moment. The audience will then get a glimpse when it's appropriate. So everything on that front was by design to not define him, but you want to know that he didn't handle loss well. He has an abandonment issue. He didn't deal with the loss of his mentor and having to be responsible for that as well. Whether that's the only time he's experienced that or whether abandonment is triggering thing for him that predates Adamson is something that I am playing with. So whether that becomes revealed or not, blah, blah. So I think this is something that Noah Wyle had in his mind as sort of a biographical sketch for his character. And then he just decided to say the thing in the last episode. I thought it was fairly awkwardly executed in that final minute. So that might be a reason why we didn't dwell on it. But anything else you want to say either about what Noah Wyle was saying about the balance of what we learned personally about these characters versus professionally, or this very specific psychological component of Dr. Rabinowitz?
Well, let's start with the Noah Wyle part, because as you were reading his quote, all I could think about was this is the origin point for the Pitt fandom more broadly. Like the clue path kind of approach to unpacking this show and taking all of these little breadcrumbs and morsels and extrapolating and projecting and trying to understand.
Relationships or whatever the case may be. Yeah.
It's become a huge part of what makes the show so appealing to so many people. And sometimes that leads people to watch what to me feels like a completely different show. But if you find that to be a rewarding experience, we support you. And as far as the Robby part of it, I mean, look, the abandonment is like flooding into all kinds of aspects of his personality and his behavior right now, both in terms of how he treats other people, but also how he is treating the end of this shift, right? And how he is thinking about the people in his life. And it's clearly so important to Robby to try to take care of so many things as humanly possible before he rides off into the sunset, to the point that he's made himself a martyr, to the point that he's like feeding his own hero complex kind of perpetually. It's just like the feedback loop of all of these things Robby is going through. You can sense the way that they are facilitating each other in really unhealthy ways.
This idea of him projecting the role of parenthood onto the way in which he thinks about this department, like in his conversation that he has with Duke inside, multiple conversations with Duke inside of this episode, but they have this back and forth, right? Where he's like, get like, go to all your appointments, do all this, right? And Duke says, this record never stops. And Robby says, dance till you drop. And then Duke says, then what? He's like, teach the kids the steps before you do. Hope they make it further than you, right? So like, first of all, he's writing a song, I guess, as he's saying this. I think it's unhealthy in many ways, the way in which Robby thinks of himself as like the martyr and the lone, sort of the only person who can keep the CD together, and these are his children and stuff like that. Like that's all very psychologically unhealthy. Mm-hmm. If it keeps him from motorcycling himself off a cliff, though, maybe I'm for it. So I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, attachment is good.
Yeah.
But yeah, you don't want to create a level of attachment that then creates its own psychosis, both for Robby and other people. And there've been so many interesting examples of that this season, Joe, where Robby like inserting himself as a fatherly figure or an attempt to be a fatherly figure for these people is either receptive or not, or sometimes is in direct conflict with their own parents. Like I was struck last week when he was talking to Javadi about, I don't want to come back and see you in Durham, which is basically exactly what her actual father was suggesting that she at least look into. And so taking levels of I know best to a degree that is attempting to supersede the other people in their life is extremely Dr. Robby shit. I also want to say, as far as the larger like mommy issues conversation here, it directly sets up, I think, what we see from Dana at the start of this episode, where she's very emotional about what Robby has just said about the what if I don't come back kind of cliffhanger of last week. But also when you think about what Abbott has just said to her before she breaks down, it's like, you are the mama bear holding this all together, basically, which is kind of what Robby effectively just said he didn't want from her and was resenting the fact that she was attempting to be motherly with him, which he clearly has an issue with.
I need some like specific psych help on this, because as we're trying to analyze like what it is about Cassie McKay or Samira Mohan who like or Dr. Al-Hashimi who really like bothers him, is it like, but I mean, Samir is quite young. It's not like older women, like his mommy issue stuff. He gets along well with Dana. So it's not like a sort of mommy transference thing. So I continue to ask questions about this, but I am curious. Baby Jane Doe is still here. Like, what role is that baby playing in the finale? I saw some people who were like, Robby should adopt her. I'm like, absolutely not.
Now, will and should are different, right? Will he? Who's to say what this man will do, but should, we need to intervene.
With love and respect. And I thought this is a very good Robby episode, and I am like really invested in his well-being, but like, don't bring that baby into it. Okay.
You can't go from, I'm talking openly about committing suicide to I'm going to adopt this baby. That's just not a thing that can be allowed to happen.
I don't think, I hope he would not pass any of the tests you must pass in order to take control of a child, but who knows? Okay, so listen, that's all I have on the mailbag front. It's not even really a mailbag, but please do continue to email us, especially with your thoughts and feelings leading into the finale. What do you think is coming? What are you hoping is coming? Whose plotline has not been resolved that you need resolved, etc. I want to start with something that really bumped for both you and me, which I'm calling tracking the pop culture references of the Pitt. We already bumped on this early in the season, but it's just an explosion of pop culture reference inside of this episode. So I just want to track what we know about the people who work in this hospital. So Langdon and Donnie know the MASH movie reference.
They
right?
do.
That happened early in the season.
On a quote level.
On a quote level.
Yeah.
Langdon and Ellis are conversant in Rumblefish, a fairly obscure 1983 Francis Ford Coppola movie that I have seen, but I would not wager a lot of people have seen, okay? But Ellis hasn't heard of Styx.
No.
In on Rumblefish, out on Styx. Langdon loves a Babe reference. Langdon and Whitaker know Gilligan's Island, but Whitaker and I believe it was Mel have never heard of MacGyver. And Abbott, I'm curious when he calls Robby Ghostwriter, is a comic book reference or a film reference? I don't know the answer.
It's a Nicolas Cage reference.
Here's what I'm willing to engage with. As this all adds up, Langdon, a movie guy. I can buy it. I can buy that Langdon is like, I love MASH. I love Rumblefish.
Yep.
I watch a lot of I watch TV. I watch, this is his thing. Langdon's involved in like a disproportionately high number of these things. So I'm like, if that's a him thing, but I'm struggling with like Whitaker being conversant in Gilligan's Island is like genuinely insane to me. I went and asked someone I know who's Whitaker's age, because Gilligan's Island was on Nick at Night, etc. But Whitaker is even a little too young for the Nick at Night era.
Yeah.
And so I asked people who are Whitaker's age, do you know what Gilligan's Island is about? And they were like, not really, and certainly couldn't name specific characters from Gilligan's Island. So I thought that scene was very strange in general, but I thought the framing of it was extra odd. What did you think?
I want to come back to the larger scene because I also had some notes about that. But yeah, the idea that he would not only reference Gilligan's Island, but it would be the thing his brain reaches for in an angry, frustrated moment.
Yeah.
Absolutely the fuck not.
Yes.
And it felt like, and this happens a couple times in this episode, screenwriter Noah Wiley just speaking directly through Dennis Whitaker.
Yeah. Do you want to come back to the scene, or do you want to talk about it right now?
I mean, we can talk about it now. I just thought it was probably the strangest and most out of left field scene we've gotten all season, and I have no idea what it's about.
I'm really confused by it. Langdon coming in to get some Advil for his messed up back, which was seeded episodes ago, makes sense. Whitaker maybe giving him the side eye and Langdon being sensitive to it makes sense. Whitaker being testy with Langdon in general, but maybe specifically because of how Santos is struggling through the day makes sense to me. This and Langdon being wounded that Whitaker's being asked to house it when he used to be the one who got to house it, and maybe sort of lashing out slightly because of that. All of that makes sense. But then this whole don't patronize me thing from Whitaker is so confusing because I don't feel like that's been a constant of their dynamic, and it doesn't. I don't think
it's been in their dynamic at all. Maybe I'm just forgetting, or we glossed over these moments earlier in the season, but I just don't remember any little buddying from Langdon to Whitaker at any step of the way. And so I think this has been kind of an odd Whitaker season overall, and the show hasn't quite know what to do with him in the mix here. But for this to be honestly one of his biggest moments of the season and have it be utter nonsense, I'm just I really don't know what to make of any of it.
Okay, I'm glad. I really felt like I had missed something. Seriously. And if we did, drsidebangs@gmail.com, let us know if that Whitaker scene worked for you, or if there is a larger through line context that makes sense. But Whitaker being the farm boy, the new guy, the Huckleberry in season 1 makes sense to me. But that's not how anyone's treating him this season at all.
And certainly not Langdon.
Yeah. Langdon has been so deferential this season, and you can feel whatever you want to. And Rob, you've certainly made some great points about his behavior, but none of it has been bullying or snide. It's very odd.
Yeah, he's really tried not to step on people's toes. And really their only interaction earlier in the episode is Whitaker has lost his badge and Langdon's trying to help him retrace his steps.
So be helpful and laugh at Trinity's clue joke. You know what I mean? He's trying to be I'm here. I'm in the club with you guys.
I do have one theory I want to float by you, which is the existence of this scene and really the existence of the twisted and gnarled Gilligan's Island metaphor that they try to project onto it. I feel like it was reverse engineered from one specific thing, which is Noah Wyle or whoever came up with this germ of an idea had the line, play whatever part you like, just don't pick mine for me. Feels like a very writerly construction. And it's like, how do we get a person to say that? And apparently Gilligan's Island is the vessel by which he chose to do it.
Dana is, of course, the skipper. Dr. Langdon is Ginger. I'm sorry to tell him, but that is who Dr. Langdon is the movie star. That's who he is.
Who's Marianne, do you think?
Whitaker. Whitaker's Marianne.
That's
obviously.
Fair. Yeah.
Obviously.
But Joe, how dare you pick his part for him? That was a trick question and you failed.
He's the coconut radio. That's who Whitaker is. Okay. Another important question for you, Rob Mahoney. What is the spice of life? Dr. Shen and Dr. Abbott are debating this. No, we get a quip about variety. Yeah. How we watched Dr. Abbott and Dr. Shen talk about how they're going to divvy up the evening. And should we switch at 1 a.m.? Variety is the spice of life, just to keep it fun. Honestly, the night shift seems enduringly cool and fun. And then Abbott's like, oh, I thought it was garlic, right?
Is garlic a spice?
That was one question I had. And the other question for you, Rob, is if it's not garlic, what is the spice of life?
I mean, salt is not a spice, right? Because it's a mineral?
Seasoning?
A seasoning, certainly. So, what would be the single most common spice? I mean, in my house, I use a lot of dill. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But that's also more herbs. So, what are we doing spice-wise?
I think let's just say, what's a thing? Because I would say it's either cumin or cardamom. So
cardamom is the spice of life?
In my house,
Joe, what are you cooking up with copious amounts of cardamom?
So many things. What are you making with dill in it?
Well, what about black pepper? Is black pepper a spice?
Sure, I guess.
I think that is the spice of life.
So you're going to do S&P? That's your salt and pep is your answer?
It's literally in almost everything for a reason. It is the baseline of modern cooking.
On the night shift front, we get some information from Ellis that she was sort of covering for Langdon on the day. She worked a lot of the day shift while Langdon was gone. And so spent a lot of time on Robby, and Ellis is like, hey, I've been reading the Noah Wyle interviews and now I know exactly what Robby is feeling around Langdon and I can share with you. I would make more fun of this, except this is an ongoing thing with Ellis because when Ellis came on at the end of last season and sort of clocked the Santos Langdon dynamic, she had some very perceptive things to say. So Ellis is a person who is quite perceptive about the emotional dynamics of the people around her, especially when they're worn out and tired and she's fresh onto the day shift. The night shift is I like it. And this particular sequence of I worked the day shift before seems to be setting up what the casting news we already learned, which is that and I'll just say this part of it outside of a spoiler context, that Dr. Ellis is going to be a main character, a main part of the cast in season 3.
Yes, which we're looking forward to. And
very much.
This episode whet my appetite for that a little bit because I actually think the Ellis-Langdon dynamic was really fun and getting to explore it a little bit more. And that dynamic, to be very clear, is mostly him acting like a dork and her making fun of him about it. Mm-hmm. I just think it's great interplay for this kind of show and especially for people at their level to be riffing off each other in that way. Did I need the conversation you mentioned, which is the 8th variation of the why is Robby mad at me Langdon chorus that we've been getting? I didn't particularly, but if we're going to get it, I would like these sorts of responses from Ellis to really top it off.
I think it was helpful to have it inside of this episode, which is the moment that Robby finally, gives Langdon some quarter inside of the ED in this procedure. I really like the way this procedure where he adjusts this guy's neck and saves his saves him from becoming quadriplegic, etc. I love the way this is set up because we've already established Cruz as this sort of hot shot, does experimental things, can do anything quickly and competently. And for him to be this is a scary thing to do, that lets us know how high the stakes are. For Robby to say, doctor the fuck up, I thought that was a great moment. And then the good job on the way out the door and Frank's face. I'm sorry.
He's just not used to it anymore.
He's just sort of it's he's a sad, wilted houseplant that finally got some water. It was just a very important moment. I've been waiting all season for it and I needed it.
It was awesome. I mean, Langdon coming up huge in exactly this sort of way, which is classic Pitt style, right? It's this moment where things are very bad and could get immeasurably worse if you don't do something quickly, even if it comes at a certain kind of risk. And so there's the adrenaline rush, there's the creative problem solving, and there is the doctoring the fuck up of, like, part of what Robby respects in other doctors are people who are willing to take those risks because it is endemic to this kind of medicine. Like, you have to take a certain amount of risk and put it on your shoulders in a way that he couldn't even comprehend someone like Dr. Al-Hashimi not being named in a lawsuit. It's like, right, it's like, if you do this, it's kind of inevitable.
Par for the course, yeah.
It's par for the course. And so seeing Langdon do the Robby thing, I mean, it is like a, you know, a work dad and work son kind of moment. It is an affirmation. It is, you know, the closest Robby comes within this episode to feeling like he's leaving things in good hands. And that for that to happen with Langdon of all people, I thought was just like a really cool return on everything we've gotten from those two characters this season.
As you mentioned, we see Langdon, hightail it out of there to try to get to his drug test on time. Is this the last we see of Langdon this season? Do you think that's the end for him?
I would be surprised. I think we have to get Langdon back. I mean, a urine test can't take that long. I mean, not to insert myself into Frank Langdon's life too much, but I think he can get in and out of there in an hour.
You've been watching a lot of Euphoria, so you know what it is to be drug tested.
I do indeed. You know, maybe he too has a vial of someone else's urine on his leg. Who's to say?
Taped to his thigh. Yeah. I don't know about more Langdon. I guess the question is, are we going to get more Langdon? Do we need another Langdon Robby scene? Or does this feel like enough of a, Dan is like, you don't have to say goodbye. Robby's, you get your wish. You don't have to say goodbye to Frank. Like,
yes.
Do you feel like that dynamic is concluded?
That's my preference, is that, like, this feels like a great way to leave it, which is Robby is getting the thing he thought he wanted, but he doesn't really want it anymore. He kind of wants that moment to talk to Langdon after this procedure and seeing this impressive thing he did. And he kind of blew it with some of his behavior earlier in the day as far as the chance to actually have a conversation with Frank.
On the, like, they're having a really bad day and need approval from Robby, Samira, we come upon Samira just, like, crushed at the bedside of the Diaz's. When Dana comes in, and I'm like, oh, finally someone's here to, like, comfort Samira. But it was, we need the bed. Can you get them out of here? I mean, Dana, she said it quite nicely.
Gently for sure.
You know, very gently, but she's like, and this is, she does this all season. This is her thing, is like, hun, we need the bed sort of thing. But, like, she's not here for Samira. But then we get a Robby Samira moment. Like, how are you doing? Well, listen, you tried. I'm not sure what else you could have done. It's all, again, going pretty well. Honestly, like, this is the Robby Samira dynamic, right? You're like, Robby, you're doing it. Yep. It's happening. You're encouraging her. And then not picking a higher spot to jump from.
Yeah. I mean, there is the Robby talking about suicide, asking, like, honestly, like, crying for help all day in ways that people cry for help. Mm-hmm. That's kind of in its own category, and it's looped in here, and we're going to talk about it in extended detail, I imagine. Mm-hmm. But there's also the part of this, which is, even if that is true, even if you believe it, even if you really think that's what Orlando Diaz was attempting here, that is not what Samira Mohan needs to hear in this moment. Like, it is the worst possible thing to say about the patient that she feels, right or wrong, that she let get away.
At full volume inside of the halls of your busy ED.
Now, multiple different parties have overheard you floating this theory at different points.
Yeah. How's it going to go for Samira next week? What do you think?
Well, this is one of the things we have to get, right? Langdon may be optional depending on how much you want to loop him in with other stories. We need, if not a sense of finality with Mohan's arc this season, at least some indication of what she wants to do with her career, what's going to be happening in her life. Like, she has had an absolutely miserable day in terms of even the things about this job that she usually finds rewarding. So many of them have been turned against her, as far as, like, trying to treat patients with this extra care and trying to go this extra mile. And she's been getting burned and having tough loss after tough loss after tough loss. It can't be this. Like, there needs to be one more note. I'm open to what that is, but, like, she has to be a big part of the finale, I would imagine.
I'm going to ask you a question, and I hope it goes better than my spice of life question. Would you rather...
What, you don't like salt and pepper?
The spice of life is salt and pepper?
Salt is literally a mineral that allows for life. You know, like, on a chemical level, it's part of us.
I'm taking your first answer, which was dill. That's the kind of...
It's not even a spice.
That's the kind of answer I was going for. Okay. Would you rather Cassie McKay's 3Bs, which is book, bath, bed.
Yeah.
Or Monica's 3Ms, which is mahjong, margarita, MAGA.
Well, you already know the answer to this, but I would say, really she's about the 4Bs. It's book, bath, bed, bangs.
Oh.
She's an enthusiast.
Yeah.
She is who she is. But like Monica, I mean, I do enjoy a game of mahjong.
I love a margarita.
I love a margarita, certainly. You had me at those two. Can we stop at the 2Ms, or does the third M have to be involved?
If it's Monica, it's part of the deal, man.
Well, then I'm out and she's out for the day.
Yeah,
she has removed herself. The old dinosaur is headed towards extinction, which is just a funny way to leave a room. I give her that.
What do you make of her? Like, glad I gave you a shot to Dana. Like, glad I was wrong about you. Okay, great.
Whatever, Monica.
All right, this is a huge Duke episode. This is like why we torturously brought Duke into the ED so that he could be here to work on the bike, talk to Robby. Before he does all that, though, and I thought Jeff Kober was great in this episode, and I thought all this stuff was really, really good.
Truly.
The Perla scene, though, when
you don't want none of that. You're not ready for all that.
She's out of your league. What league am I in? The old timers league. Like, this is a great Perla moment. I was wondering if, she comes running in because he tries to take his leads off. And I was like wondering if this was like a Louis sort of trigger for her, right? Because like Louis sends her like going off all day, and then it being false alarm, then not. So like, I was wondering if that was part of the reason, but also it was just like a great Perla moment, and I'm a big fan in general.
Especially when she has to play all that with a poker face, because like she has seen Duke CT, so she knows what Robby is going to come in to talk to him about, and I feel like she is just like perfectly attuned with just gentle enough, but also just kind of like poking fun at him in the way that someone like Duke would be receptive to. It's just like, it's great reading the room from Perla.
How about the Robby Duke, this is what's going on with you physically scene?
I mean, Robby's finally getting the chance to talk to him. I have to say, as far as what Duke's outlook is, it sounds quite promising if he gets this procedure. And so from that perspective, you can understand Robby's anxiety about, if I leave and you don't do this, it could be catastrophic. And if I leave and even give you a follow-up call, maybe it'll nudge you in the direction, although Duke rightly calls him out that he's not going to be making that follow-up call.
Well, I think especially when Duke is asking, like, what will it feel like?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so if I don't do this, and if this happens, so if I die, I'm going to die. I've lived my life. I'm going to die. Maybe this is the way to go. You know what I mean? Is sort of the implication from Duke.
It did sound maybe not painless, but relatively painless as these things go.
Yeah. Some pain, and then you'll pass out and it'll be over. And then we get after the ambulance has hit Robby's bike, and Antoine is like surprisingly like very defensive and protective of Robby's bike. I was very surprised by this.
So I was wondering that there were multiple bikes.
Do you think one of them is Antoine's? Does he think that's why he was mad? Okay.
Yeah, I feel like maybe he was mad about his bike, but
yeah. Do you think Antoine wears a helmet?
I would hope.
Okay.
I would certainly hope I would hope that everyone does. But that is the moment where you know that things are really bad with Robby, which is, yes, he has the like motherfucker outburst when he finds his bike, but the calm with which he receives the guy who is driving the ambulance and is like, you know what, it's okay. I'm like, oh, this is bad.
Yeah.
Like this man is in a horrible state, maybe even worse than we've imagined.
That's okay, but then chewing out the other drivers about where they placed the sensors on the woman with the larger chest. Dr. Al-Hashimi thanked him for it. Santos was certainly really into it. Dr. Al-Hashimi's like, I would have done it a little differently, but like, thank you for standing up for us.
If Santos agrees with your managerial style, it might not be the best sign.
And this is, I actually, we've talked about this a little bit this season, the way in which Santos is like modeling her behavior off of Robby. And it's just sort of like, maybe not,
I learned it from watching you, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. On the Duke and Robby conversation front, I thought this was like really top. Like this
is good Pitt.
I think I even liked it even more than like the Dana Robby confrontation, because I think the Dana Robby emotional fights is supposed to be like, here's the Pitt taking its two heavyweight champions and having them fight each other, and that's supposed to be like the showstopper of the season. But there's something about this like quieter conversation where Robby's allowing himself to be more honest with someone, a bit more honest with someone. And then Duke having this perspective, Duke being able to, both Dana and Duke can see through Robby's bullshit to a certain degree, but like Duke talking about like the things he had done in his life and the regret that he had, the bad things, not just like the bad things anyone does, but like I went to jail because I purposely hurt people, bad things.
Yeah.
I thought all of this was just like tremendously good. Do you feel like it changed Robby's outlook at all? What do you think?
I think maybe it's like starting to move the needle a little bit in a way that it hasn't all day, right? Many people have tried to approach this thing as openly as you would with somebody in the middle of a workday, right? Like talking pretty clearly about what Robby's intentions might be, how weirdly he's been acting and behaving and speaking to people all day. Like people have tried. McKay has tried many times for one. Ultimately, I feel like he's more receptive to Duke. And I'm wondering if you have any ideas for why that is, Joe. And you mentioned like, as being someone who has like lived through some shit and seen some shit, I think probably works in Duke's favor. Someone who's outside his normal kind of work orbit and is a different perspective might lead Robby to be more receptive to him. He's also like clearly someone whose advice and opinion he takes seriously about other things. But do you see any other particular reason why Robby might be open to this conversation at this time?
Someone who doesn't trigger his mommy issues.
I mean, that too.
You know, that's what I think. And like, I think that's why, you know, in this episode, this is a very Abbott light episode. But we do get Dana sort of like pleading with Abbott to have a conversation with Robby. So I have to imagine that's something we're getting in the finale. And, you know, again, I think Abbott is well positioned to get through to Robby in a way that Dana can't. And it, you know, it's just like, I don't think Robby never listens to women, but I think that there are just like certain things he can't hear from certain people, you know? So
I want to see about the Abbott thing because he's obviously a little resistant in this moment when Dana is bringing it up to him about whether he should talk to him, how he should talk to him. I can see the version of the finale where the conversation you're alluding to absolutely happens. And in terms of like heavyweight actors and characters on the show, it speaks
let's put him back on the roof or whatever. You know?
Let's put him on the roof. It speaks to that closure in season 1. Like I can absolutely see how we got there. I could also see this being more of a return to talk again with Duke, or like a different version of that manifesting where Abbott, for whatever reason, has kind of like done this and feels like he can't get any further with Robby, and Robby has to turn to someone else, whether that's Duke or Dana or maybe somebody off the board who we're not thinking about.
Feels like, you know, this is such a Robby, Duke, Langdon episode. And most like Santos and Whitaker, with the exception of that one, you know, and McKay and Mel are really just like on the charting beat. Like they're just like sort of background in this episode. Do you agree, or what do you think? Yeah.
I mean, they're barely in. And I would say Javadi as well, other than her uploading the video and having that conversation with Robby.
Yeah. What did you make of that?
I mean, it's just like full condescending uncle dad mode right out of the gate from Robby, and the unwillingness to even like let her explain or talk about it at all. Finish a
sentence. Like,
can you imagine?
It was deeply aggravating to watch. McKay coming back and being like, listen, actually, she's trying to help Jesse, and also what she does is pretty cool. And this is like something that again, this is just the Pitt. This is the Pitt saying the thing. This is something that they said they were going to do this season, which is like Javadi and her social media influencer, but we're not here to make fun of it. We're here to like say, hey, it's actually kind of cool the way in which younger people can reach people. McKay just says the thing though, once again, which is just not the most elegant way to translate that to us.
Also, the way she says it, Joe, as like, it's kind of this badass self-care is the most mom that McKay has ever sounded on this show.
Yeah.
Just the most distant and out of touch with anything. But she is trying to be nice. She is being supportive, as you mentioned. I think the part of this that is Javadi using her reach and her influence to try to get information on Jesse, that part I like. The like, we're going to prop up this idea of who Javadi is as a self-care influencer, also without ever showing you what her content even looks like. Like, maybe just show us what it looks like.
Well, that's what they said from the start, was that they weren't going to show it. But I was just like,
you're just going to tell, not show?
Yeah, exactly. I really wish you had shown it. And then I could sitting here at home, been like, wow, that's some badass self-care. You know what I mean? And not had Cassie McKay just say the thing. I will give them this.
Yeah.
Noah Wiley's delivery of we did have cell phones, maybe not in the beginning. It was very funny and very
that
good.
Part is good.
Really good. And then like the cases are all just kind of wrapping up. We get the Hansen family back again with the rope in the hand, which is one of the grossest things. I thought I was done for the day in terms of like they can't get me anymore. And then it was the rope in the hand, and I was just like really upset by it.
What do you think this guy's grandpa name is? He feels like a Pappy Hansen to me.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's Pappy.
He definitely has Pappy energy.
Papa.
Oh, I could see any variation of pop.
Yeah.
Definitely in the zone for the Hansens.
Do you call your grandparents any kind of like cute grandparent name or?
One of my grandfathers we called Bear because he had like a big grizzly sort of lumbering gait.
That's really cute.
So, you find it in sometimes the most unexpected places, but this is the joy of being a grandparent, I think, is you get to really reinvent yourself late in life.
Yeah, sometimes the names are hard to navigate. Okay.
Well, that seems like it's coming from experience, Joe. What do we got? Did you have any grandparent names?
No, my grandparents were all like, grandma and first name, sort of thing. But like with my
Grandpa Joe style.
With my I mean, I don't want to throw my folks under the bus. I will just say that like my nephews call like their dad's parents grandma, grandpa. And so then my parents decided they needed something very distinct. And so they went like real wild with the choices. It could not just be like, we're also grandma and grandpa. It had to be something very distinctive. So I'm having like I've had trouble with it, but it's not my business because they're not my grandparents. They're my parents.
Fair.
So also on the caseload front inside of this episode, like it's very minimal, just like weird, wacky night shift stuff. Like it's nothing, like we're wrapping up. It doesn't feel like we're going to get any like big emotional case other than Dr. Al-Hashimi herself. But like here at the end of the shift, what do you think?
Yeah, so we have the Pappy Hansen tug of war case coming in.
Yeah.
We have the dude who has fired a gun while wearing a pot on his head. And I guess, are we to interpret that the bullet like ricocheted or what happened with that guy?
Right. Gunshot wound to the head. So like is it the bucket that I don't know. We don't really follow up on that very much. Yeah. Okay.
And there's also this woman who's wheeled in right at the end who is climbing a dumpster to try to get onto a roof, has fallen and presumably broken her leg. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if we barely hear anything about any of those cases going forward. And then the others, I mean, so this woman who came in with chest pain with the leads.
Yeah.
Maybe we get some follow-up if she's okay or not, or kind of what her symptoms are. Is there anything else on the board here that we need answers for, or you feel like we're going to get follow-up on?
I don't think so, unless we're forgetting something. I will say that I think the rolling rock to the face, that's our pitting out with a pit moment, right?
Oh, like, truly. I mean, tough break for Yingling, too. Like, this was your moment. And they just ripped it away from you.
Are you a Yingling fan? Like, do you like that guy?
Not particularly, but it's like, I would think that would be the go-to pull in this particular situation. And Rolling Rock just snatched it out from under them.
Whenever I hear Yingling, I think of Brothers Bloom, right? When like one of...
Wait, I don't even remember the Yingling drop in that.
One of the cover names is Yingling, and someone's like, Yingling, like the beer? Like the beer?
You know what? This is a great invitation to revisit the amazing movie, The Brothers Bloom.
Yeah, exactly. Like Langdon, we just love a movie. We love a movie reference. We love referencing movies no one has ever seen.
That's who we are.
Let's talk about Dr. Al-Hashimi and Robby. So Detective Robby has been on the case. Dr. Al-Hashimi like literally runs out of the room at one point to sort of avoid his questions, but then brings him in, and this is how she's choosing to reveal the information. He has also chosen this moment to be the first time that he calls her by her first name, which is something she asked him to do at the beginning of the shift. And this appears to be the diagnosis that our medical professional listeners gave Dr. Al-Hashimi many episodes ago, this idea of the absence seizures. So what do you make of this?
I want to give the creators, the cinematographers of the Pitt credit, because I did my damnedest, Joe, to read this chart.
Freeze frame Mahoney. They thwarted freeze frame Mahoney.
They did an amazing job of keeping it perpetually just out of focus, where it's like you can kind of start putting the words together, but not with any level of certainty. So I really tried to dig in. So all we get is this initial information from Robby, but as you say, it's pretty much consistent with what a lot of people have been theorizing, that she's been having these seizures. I'm okay with this delivery system. It's a little coy, but like, it's TV, and I think it plays well in the moment. And setting it up as they've had this long shift together and have earned this begrudging respect. I kind of like how far Robby and Al-Hashimi have come together over the course of the day. It is a little bit undone by his whole detective search. And it leaves me wondering, did you need the detective search to begin with? Did you need that level of skepticism if you were just going to reveal it in this fashion?
Right. Could this just have been more of a, not he's on my case, but I do trust him and I can tell him this thing that I'm worried about, you know?
And wouldn't it hit harder and be even more impactful if he had learned to trust her over the course of the day and then was kind of sideswiped by this thing?
Yeah. So for folks who are listening to this who maybe didn't listen, because we kept a lot of our conversation about this in a sort of like medical spoiler section in previous podcasts. So like if you didn't listen to that previously, we were quite concerned with Dr. Al-Hashimi's decision to practice medicine in this, you know, because absence seizures are very rare in adults. But they can be triggered by stressful situations. And so like, is the ED just like a place that she cannot practice medicine because it is too stressful?
Yeah.
Can she not practice medicine at all in general? I don't think so, because I think in like a sort of sedate, you know, GP or, you know, like specialist,
primary
like,
care,
like,
peds.
there's just like plenty of places, but in the like, in the moment, you need to make a decision, and sometimes you need to like be physically acting. You need to make sharp mental decisions. You need to be able to like, you know, dig in there and do something physically immediately. And if she is incapable of that because it's unpredictable when these things are going to happen to her, can she physically run the ED? And then this is something I've just been worried about all season, because then it's just like, okay, so then Robby's right that like the woman who is hired to take over for him is unqualified to take over for him. And then like, so he can't leave because his replacement is incapable. Is that where we're headed? Like, I'm really curious how that all resolves in the finale, because that's like, that doesn't feel, it feels like no lessons learned for Robby inside of a dynamic like that. You know what I mean?
Well, I do think as far as that part of Robby's whole deal, I do like the way the story treats the concept that he can do things other doctors don't do well, right? Like he clearly is a great doctor. He identifies problems. He knows a lot of potential treatments and remedies and things that are not necessarily traditional, but effective in this particular context. And so the idea that he has this God complex in the ED, part of it is like, I don't want to say well-earned, but like you can see how he got there.
Yes.
And so his sense of superiority feeding into the idea that like I am the person holding this together, that feels like a well-sculpted character to me. How it is then fed in the way you describe, by just like, I was skeptical of this woman and I guess I was right all along and therefore I'm even more infallible. Clearly that's like a dangerous kind of affirmation, but also from a storytelling perspective, like where does that take us? Like where is the road if Robby was just right and Al-Hashimi was just wrong? And yes, they've come to a great understanding of each other over the course of the day, but that feels like we didn't really go anywhere at all.
Right. Yeah. I'm really worried about how this is going to resolve. This is something I've been like a little bit, because we have this moment of mutual respect, but how like is that just going to go out the window once he like, we get the next part of this conversation, the next part of the cliffhanger. I don't know. I'm really curious. Like again, I don't need characters. You really encapsulated it perfectly, because like I don't need characters to be well behaved or all this sort of stuff like that. But for Robby to like believes he's right and then just is right is so dramatically inert, inside of a season. And like when we are getting a character who is talking so steadily about ending his life, surely he has to have some sort of transformative epiphany to say, it's worth going on. It's worth going forward. And if it's worth going forward because everything falls apart without me. And that's the dynamic that has put him in a place where he is considering ending his life in the first place. Narratively, I don't know if that's satisfying.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think the only reason I'm hopeful that that's not exactly what's going to happen is just the way that they've been talking about what the messaging of season 2 is and what the messaging of season 3 potentially will be. Mm-hmm. That to me, like the way they're framing those ideas suggests some level of growth that we haven't seen yet. And so, that epiphany, that moment, like something has to turn within Robby to pull him back from the edge. And again, there are a lot of different ways that could happen, but it has to be pretty significant in a way that the Pitt honestly hesitates to go to, right? Like they've talked about with the show, there can only be so much of an arc over the course of a day.
Yeah.
But needs to be a life-saving arc if Noah Wyle and Dr. Robby are going to continue to be on the show.
Which we want. Like I want Dr. Robby to be on the show. I love what Noah Wyle does with the role. I am interested, like, this is such a extreme place to push someone in season 2 of a show that you want to run for a while. It's like season 2 is the season where he is like, is this going to be a perpetual thing for Robby? Robby's always on the brink of something, maybe, but like, I don't know. I'm really interested to see, is it an Abbott conversation? Is it a Duke conversation? Is it something with Baby Jane Doe? Is Langdon coming back downstairs? Is Mohan going to be like, a conversation that has potential of just something? I don't know.
What if Baby Jane Doe is a conversation? What if Baby Jane Doe could talk this whole time and is the one to have the heart to heart?
Listen, Robby.
Let me tell you what this is all about.
I've been watching you all day, and I've got to read for you. I did like the conversation that he had with Caleb, who's the psych doctor, who's been sort of like on the margins of this conversation all day, and Caleb being like, do me the respect, right? Yeah. You're disrespecting me as a person. No pithy retort, but just sort of this, physician heal thyself or something like that. But here's a physician whose job it is to diagnose things, has diagnosed you with something quite seriously. And are you going to heal yourself or not? I don't know.
It's the first time I would say all day that Robby has looked ashamed of his behavior, right? Like being forced to confront what he has just said about Orlando Diaz is as sheepish as we've seen Robby. I did think it was kind of weird that Caleb, I'm sure not for lack of trying over the past months, because we're told and it's alluded to that basically he's been trying to get Robby into treatment and he's been very resistant, but that this is all that Caleb is willing and wanting to do. Like, that's a pretty extreme thing to say out there in front of everybody. And Caleb is kind of just like, I guess you have my number. Please don't do this again. Bye.
Did you like this episode? How did you feel about it?
I don't know. I ultimately, I felt like it was a pretty good episode in what is a pretty good season, and kind of was representative of a lot of the things that I've been left wanting with in season 2.
I think the Duke stuff is so successful for me in this episode that I think overall my review has to be high.
Yeah.
Again, I think Jeff Kober is like perfect casting for this role. And I think he's just an incredible character, especially as we talk about how disconnected Robby is and who in his life can help him. And it's like the random guy he met who worked on his bike. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not a family member, but it's this guy. And it's
the Zen
not Noel.
And the motorcycle maintenance go together.
Right. It's not Noel. It's this guy Duke. And I think other than Langdon and Dr. Al-Hashimi right here at the end, everything else gets kind of sidelined in this episode for this Duke Robby stuff as we build to a culmination. And that they needed to land that in order for me to be satisfied with this episode. And I think they did. There's a lot of other things that I have questions about, but that is like all season, he's like, my buddy Duke's coming in. My buddy's Duke is coming in. And Duke has been waiting for his CTs and like all this sort of stuff like that. And so like it had to pay off here. And I think it did. So, yeah.
Those scenes were so good that they sort of recontextualized the my buddy Duke is coming in stuff all day. Where, I mean, to what we were talking about earlier about why Robby even has this conversation with him in the first place. I would imagine there's like a part of that person, of Dr. Rabinovich, it's like, I kind of know Duke will try to talk me out of some of this. I know that he sees me in a particular way that maybe other people don't, or can reach me in a way that other people don't. And is like, in the way that he's asking for help, begging his friend to come in to talk him out of doing the thing that he wants to do. Like he I think he identifies that in Duke a little bit, and it does pay off. The scenes are incredible. And I think this is the only reason. I think I'm sort of interpreting the Dana stuff a little differently, where I'm with you that they don't quite work. They don't quite hit. To me, they feel sculpted to be a little stunted, right? It's like it's meant to be not the big heavyweight bout, but like a failure to launch conversation that doesn't quite work for anyone involved. And then he goes outside with with Duke and has the actual conversation.
Yeah.
And Jeff Kober sells it. And Jeff Kober, all season, I think, has just brought like a weariness to Duke that is really unique among this cast and has brought a different dynamic and energy to basically every scene that he's in a way that we've seen from like guest stars on their like 3-episode arcs or whatever, but he's been around for a while now. And he's been having just like fun conversations and lively conversations, and now the real shit.
Has that been like the real success of the season? Because we talked about Digby being sort of like the highlight of last week's episode. Has that been like a way in which the Pitt has really nailed it this season, is in these sort of like side characters coming in?
I think it's been pretty successful.
Yeah.
And as far as most of my hesitations or my problems with the season have been more like, what are we doing with the main cast? What are we doing with these doctors and nurses that we know about and care about? The Pitt is great at introductions. Like, they're great at throwing people into the mix and giving you a pretty clear version of who those characters are, and then kind of paying them off. I think we're going to have to see over 2 and 3 and 4 seasons, or however long the show ends up running, what you do with Dr. Santos over 4 years, what you do with Whittaker over 4 years, how you write characters in and out of the show over time. It's not easy to do. And I think season 2 has kind of bumped up against the limits of the structure and the development cycle. And I say that in terms of like the character development cycle within the show. And they're trying to figure out like how to manage an ensemble that's this big.
Who do you think has been the least well served this season? I think it's Dr. Mel King, right?
Mel feels like the go-to.
Taylor Dearden is so good, and we like loved this character in season 1, and I still like love this character, but like the whole deposition, like the Becca stuff was quite good, but the Becca stuff was like 2 episodes, and so it's like I really feel like we get another sort of like Ren Fair reenactor, pitting out with the Pitt sort of like sequence with her for McKay.
Also, that was bait. Like her also liking the Civil War reenactors, that's just straight bait.
But like, Mel is a place in which they missed. And then Samira, it all depends on how it resolves.
It does.
Mohan I would say, has been like one of the doctors that the season is most interested in, her psychological profile and the impact a day can have, a day in the ED can have on someone as capable as her. So I'll see how let's see how it all resolves. But that's a way in which like they have a real chance to have like really done something this season with the character. So yeah.
Very much so. I hope they land it, especially because those 2 examples, like those are people at the opposite ends of the screen time spectrum, right?
That's what I'm saying.
You can fail in both ways. You can succeed in both ways. It just really depends. I just, of all the characters, I really hope they figure it out with Mohan.
All right. Anything else you want to say about this episode?
Joe, I do want to talk to you more about Styx. It never occurred to me, and I'm like vaguely familiar, on a hits level with Styx's discography, that they would be a July 4th band. How familiar are you with the Independence Day lore of Styx?
Rob, I'm so excited to learn this from you. What is this?
Well, here's the thing. My problem was I'm familiar with many Styx songs. Renegade, obvious banger, Mr. Roboto, referenced in this episode, Sail Away, everybody knows
Sail Away.
Was not familiar with this song, Sweet Madam Blue. Have you ever heard Sweet Madam Blue?
No, are you going to sing it for us?
I'm not going to sing it, but I would like to read for you the lyrics of the bridge to Sweet Madam Blue.
I'll settle for a recitation, but I would prefer a serenade, but thank you.
Well, let me know how you interpret this.
Okay.
These are the lyrics to the bridge of Sweet Madam Blue. America, 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 America. America, 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 America. America, 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 America. America, 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 America. America, 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 America.
Great stuff.
America, 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 America.
That makes me want to jam a flag into my chest, just like really go for it.
Who are we if we're not Iwo Jima-ing each other at the end of the day?
Exactly. Is Styx is that a song that is played in a lot of 4th of July, like fireworks shows or like whatever?
Yeah. Apparently it's not only played, but they often perform on the 4th of July because of this song and some other like vaguely related ones in their catalog. But this does seem like we're really saluting the flag of the mix.
Thank you for that rendition.
You're welcome.
I thought that was like a decent burn from Ellis about like, shout out Spotify, the Spotify age of your playlist. Mine last year, I think I told you was like in the 80s or something like that. But like as in they thought
what was it that anchored you into the 80s?
Like, why did they think I was 80 years old?
Yeah, were you like, was it old show tunes? Was it, folk ballads? What are we doing?
It was old show tunes.
I suspected. I didn't want to put your business out there.
Except you asked me. Yeah, I think it was definitely old show. What was your age range again?
It was high. I honestly can't remember. It was not as high as 80. I was probably more in like the 50s, 60s range. Yeah. So too old for Ellis.
What do you think got you in the 50s, 60s range?
I think it's a lot of Beatles in the mix, to be honest with you.
That's another contender for me.
They're on every playlist. Yeah. Sometimes we're just spinning whole albums. Yeah. It's just what's happening around.
What's your favorite Beatles album?
I'm an Abbey Road guy.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Well, how about you?
It's probably Abbey Road. It was Rubber Soul for a really long time, but I think it's matured into Abbey Road. The White Album is the first CD or second CD I ever owned because my mom took me to Borders and she said you can get one CD, and I tricked her into getting me a double album.
The double? You got to get your money's worth.
So, yeah.
But this is my origin story too. Abbey Road was the first CD I ever bought. So, we're imprinted at an early age.
There we go. All right. Well, that is the Pit with a side of the Beatles. Send us your Spotify Wrapped ages. Why not? Some corporate synergy for us. Send us your thoughts about this episode and your thoughts about Robby and your thoughts about Dr. Al-Hashimi. I'm really curious to hear from our listeners how this episode landed with them, because it's a tough, like a penultimate episode is a tough, because we're in like a sort of holding pattern for something conclusive in the finale. Again, I don't think we're having beers in the park, but I'm curious to see how this all resolves itself. Are people just going to continue to trickle out the door? Are we going to have something more conclusive than that? I don't know. Is Robby going to get on that motorcycle at the end of the day? Is he not? Is someone going to show up for Baby Jane Doe? I don't know.
Well, Joe, is there anything that you want? Like, we talked about the Mohan stuff. Obviously, there's going to be a lot more Robby. Any story, big or small, that you're like, I would really love another button on that.
Where's Whittaker's badge?
Where is it?
And why does that matter?
Was that meant to be just like a random throwaway note or like a plot point?
It felt there was so much time dedicated to it that it felt like a plot point. Right? Yeah. Or is it just a reason to get Whittaker out in the ambulance bay so that he could be there to comically try to hold up a bicycle that he is way too small to hold up, And then
to be like walking around to facilitate the Uber for the old lady who then incurred a vomit and racist surcharge.
Tough. Real tough.
I will say, the moment of this episode that I think I enjoyed the absolute most was when he first gets the alert about the $250 charge on his account and is displaying some shock. Santos hits him with the cow in labor, and I did laugh. I did enjoy it.
Hilarious.
Just sniping in on this episode. Hilarious. Consistently hilarious. We love her work.
Whittaker's like, there goes my first paycheck. Is he getting paid $200 a month?
I really hope not. I'm a little fuzzy on the economics of incoming doctors and residents and when you start actually making money to begin with. But I hope he's making.
Well, he was like, I'm finally making money, and I'm like, is it $200?
Well, he lost some on the betting pool already, and now he's losing this.
Yeah,
and I'm sure he's gonna have to pay for. I mean, maybe the repairs on Robby's motorcycle will get talked to by the end of the day. Good Samaritan that he is.
How do you think Princess is spending her money?
She feels like a foot massage person to me. She feels like she's really paying. I mean, some badass self-care. Really doing it.
That sounds like the 4th of July that I want.
There we go.
Okay, so here's to Princess getting her foot massage while eating some delicious barbecue, and here's to everyone else hopefully wrapping up the season. Again, do let us know what you thought of this episode. I'd be very curious. Shout out to Jeff Kober, just an incredible
legend,
Buffy alum, and an incredible showing on this season. And shout out to Kai Grady for his work on this show. And we will be back with Euphoria Sunday night, and then Pitt finale and Beef and more Euphoria. And the content just keeps coming. All right. See you soon. Bye.